Project Mercury, America's first manned space program, lasted from 1958 to 1963. The Mercury 7, test pilots all, Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, Wally Schirra, and Alan Shepard Jr. and Deke Slayton. Their task proved that man could fly into orbit around the Earth and return live and well to talk about it. Shepard was first in Freedom 7. His 15-minute suborbital hop on May 5, 1961, proved the United States was catching up with the Soviet Union. 3 weeks later, President Kennedy's call for a lunar landing.
Commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
America was launched into a race with the Soviets to be the first on the moon. On February 20, 1962, John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth in Friendship 7.
Okay. Roger, 7. You have a go. At least 7 orbits.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around. Oh, that view is tremendous. Roger, understand go for at least 7 orbits.
Carpenter did 3 orbits in May of '62. Schirra, 6, 5 months later. Cooper wound up the program with 22 orbits in May 1963. Gemini, the bridge to Apollo, used a more advanced vehicle carrying 2 crewmen. Its goals: test the skills and endurance of the astronauts and practice the rendezvous and docking procedures and other maneuvers for the moon voyage. Astronauts flew 10 Gemini missions between March of 1965 and November 1966. On the second, Ed White, secured by a golden tether, performed America's first spacewalk. He liked it so much he didn't want to come in.
I think I'm dragging a little bit, so I don't want to fire the gun yet. Okay, I put a little roll in, took it right out. Okay, I'm coming over.
Okay, stand by.
You see me yet?
I sure don't. Oh, there you are. Look at the camera on now. Okay. This is you're right in front, Ed. You look beautiful.
I feel like $1 million, so I'm going to pitch up. And y'all laugh. I'm coming back to you.
Gemini 6 and 7 rendezvoused in orbit and maneuvered in close formation.
We're just flying nose to nose.
Roger.
We can very clearly see the horizon scanners operate.
Roger, Gemini 12, Houston.
Gemini 12 confirmed the docking procedures tested on Gemini's 8, 10, and 11. Astronauts got a warm welcome aboard the carrier following splashdown. The Gemini flights were over in November 1966. The crews were ready for the great voyage. But before it could begin, tragedy intervened. Astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, assigned to the first Apollo mission, perished when fire engulfed the interior of their spacecraft during a launch rehearsal on January 27, 1967. 16 months later, a Saturn 1B rocket launched Apollo 7 into Earth orbit. Astronauts practiced rendezvous and simulated docking procedures as millions watched their live TV pictures of the Earth from orbit.
It's 4 balls 1.
Apollo 7, Houston.
We have you go for orbit here. Go for orbit.
Beautiful. This is Apollo 8 coming to you live from the moon.
Apollo 8, history's first manned flight to the vicinity of another celestial body.
For the last 16 hours. The Landers, Jim Lovell, and myself have spent the day before Christmas up here doing experiments, taking pictures, and firing our spacecraft engines to maneuver around. Jim, what have you thought most about? Well, frankly, the vast loneliness up here on the moon is awe-inspiring, and it makes you realize just what you have back there on Earth. The Earth from here is let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
Apollo 9, the first docking of the command module with the lunar module.
Why don't you say hello to the camera or something? Hello, camera. Oh, this is Baja, California. Okay, we're nice and stable with respect to you. It's a nice-looking machine. So is yours. That's about all it looks like, though, some sort of machine.
Apollo 10, the first rehearsal in the lunar environment.
In about a minute and a half, but your AOS is 12404, and we'd like you to check and make sure the VHF is all off. Over.
Houston, Apollo 10, the Z-axis track now looks real good and real solid.
Roger, Snoop. It looks good to us. Your range is coming right in there.
Okay, I'm tracking you guys optically. It's really working good.
Have you got our flashing lights, John?
That's beautiful.
And then Apollo 11, July 20th, 1969.
30 feet, 2.5 down. Straight shadow. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. I'm at the foot of the ladder. The LEM footbeds are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches. I'm going to step off the LEM now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. See if you can pull that end off a little bit.
Houston, Columbia on the high gain, over.
Columbia, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear, over.
Yeah, read you loud and clear. How's it going?
Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully. They're setting up the flag now.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
4 months later, a second trio of Americans arrived at the moon.
Yankee Clipper, I'll turn on my tracking light for a minute, see if you see it. Okay, Houston, I'm jiggling it. The surveyor is firmly
They encountered Surveyor from an earlier mission.
Okay, Al, we're ready to start getting a TV camera. Okay. A big smile. Okay.
Next up, in April 1970, Apollo 13.
The nip of Jack Frost, over.
Well, the little boots and 2 pair of underwear, and every once in a while he's falling to a big thing.
Yeah.
We're a little reluctant to break out the suit.
Yeah, that's understandable. You can always use them if you have to.
2 days into the mission, an oxygen tank exploded in the command service module. The crew faced the prospect of slow suffocation.
141 hours, 30 minutes, ground elapsed time.
Right by the high gate antenna, the whole panel is blown out, almost from the base to the engine.
But using the reserves of oxygen in the lunar module, and with that module as their lifeboat, they were able to return safely to Earth. January 1971, Apollo 14, the first manned landing in and exploration of the lunar highlands.
How's this, Bruce? Look okay?
Roger, that's a good sight. There you go. Beautiful, baby.
More firsts. Apollo 15, June 1971. The crew carried 8 scientific experiments in a section of the command module. They also made good use of the lunar rover for the first time.
Well, I can see I'm going to have to keep mile in the road. Boy, it's really rolling hills, Joe. Just like 14. Up and down we go. Yeah, it feels like we need the seatbelts, doesn't it, Jim? Yeah, really do.
March 1972, Apollo 16. The astronauts landed in the Descartes Highlands. They covered more than 16 miles in the lunar rover, collecting rock samples and setting up scientific instruments.
Oh, I believe it, Charlie.
It's raining, John. Look at it go, would you, Charlie? You got all your steering. It's great. Oh, this is going to be some kind of different ride.
Well, Tony, that's your house rock right there.
Very good. Don't get too near the edge of that thing. It falls off. Look over at your right. It falls off pretty good.
Yeah, I know.
9 months later, Apollo 17, the last of the Apollo flights. Astronauts landed in the moon's Taurus mountain region. Using the lunar rover, they gathered 243 pounds of lunar samples.
Next to the boulder, down to about 3 centimeters. I was in bag 569.
Hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity, hippity hopping over hill and dale.
Apollo sent a dozen Americans to rove the surface of the moon, and 15 others to fly into the grasp of its 1/6 gravity. They took the measure of the moon, and in so doing took the measure of themselves and demonstrated the human potential. They brought back rocks, but as Mike Collins later told a joint session of Congress, it's a fair trade, for just as the Rosetta Stone revealed the language of ancient Egypt, so may these rocks unlock the mystery of the origin of the moon, and indeed even of our Earth and solar system. Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. Their journeys have ended, but ours have barely begun.